Thank you, Monica. And in English, the poem by Rainier Marie Rilke reads, God speaks to each of us as God makes us, then walks with us silently out of the night. And these are the words we dimly hear. You, sent out beyond your recall, go to the limits of your longings. Embody me. Flare up like flame and make big shadows I can move in. Let everything happen to you, beauty and terror. Just keep going. No feeling is final. Don't let yourself lose me. Nearby is the country we call life. You will know it by its seriousness. Give me your hand. And from the first chapter of Genesis in the Hebrew Scriptures, then God said, let us make humans in our image according to our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the air and over the cattle and the wild animals of the earth and every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth. So God created humans in their image. In the image of God, they created them. Male and female, they created them. This is ancient wisdom and holy word. All creation is wisdom and holy word.
All creation sings of wisdom and God. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Well, a few weeks ago, someone on Instagram posted a photo of a banner that was outside a Presbyterian church that read, God, the original they, them. As sometimes happens on social media, people kind of lost their mind. So in response, I posted a little video, and I know some of you saw that, about this passage from the first chapter of the Bible. In Genesis 1, which is a beautiful, poetic rendering, imagining of the beginning of the universe, we see God using language to bring into existence the skies, the sun, the moon, the stars, the waters, the earth, the creatures, and finally, in chapter 1, the humans. In chapter 2, the order is different, but that's a different story. Genesis 1:26 reads, then God said, let us make humans in our likeness, according to our image. To whom is God speaking? The word used for God here is Elohim, which is a plural construct in Hebrew. The I am in Hebrew is like an S in English, makes something plural, and El means God, so Elohim is the gods. So apparently, God is speaking to God's self, who is apparently a plurality. Us, our. Interestingly, that repeated phrase, in our image, according to our likeness, uses two different grammatical constructs, one in the feminine plural and one in the masculine plural. Interesting, huh? Now, some folks will quote the English translation of the next verse, 127, which will read something like this, depending on your translation. So God created humans in his image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. Now, the Hebrew verb here is bara. There is no pronoun in the sentence in Hebrew, but because we use pronouns in English, we need to add one for the sentence to make sense to us. So otherwise it would just read, created them. And since the word for God is that same plural, Elohim, the pronoun that makes sense here is they. They created them. And the text goes on, they created them in their own image, male and female, they created. So the image of this multifaceted plural God contains both male and female. Right there in the first chapter of the Bible. Go figure. I would even say that within this plural God who talks to the council of God's self, there is room for a broader understanding of gender, with male and female as the two poles. And there is room between them for a more fluid understanding of what God has created, that all of it is contained within the image of this multidimensional God. Also, let's talk about the word Adam, or in Hebrew, Adam. In this chapter, it's usually translated as humankind or man, not as a male first name. Adam is actually a playful word based on a word for dust or dirt. Adam means dirt creature, basically, or earth creature if you want to be a little more dignified about it. But either way, a creature composed of dirt, which when you think about it is kind of cool when you think about how we evolved out of the mud from those first cellular organisms. So earthlings, that's what we are. God puts together this mud being, and in the next chapter, breathes into it. So humans, this poem suggests, are the breath of God embodied in mud. Breathe. When you were born, you came out of the comfort of your mother's womb where you didn't have to breathe, and suddenly you had to take in a breath. My son did not breathe when he emerged from my womb, and that was a problem. They whisked him away to the neonatal unit where he stayed until the wee hours of the night as they monitored his eventual breathing to make sure that it continued. It's a thrilling moment when a baby takes its first breath. Life has begun. Now, as many of you know, I have served as both a hospice chaplain and a trauma chaplain, and in both capacities, I've been with people when their breathing stopped, as well as being with my own father when he took his last breath. Now, if you've been in that situation, you know that first the breathing slows. And sometimes it slows a lot. And sometimes that slowing down takes hours or even days. And as the time lengthens between breaths, if you're there watching, there might come a moment where you think, that's it. And then suddenly, there's another gasp for air, and the next breath is taken. But eventually, there will be a moment when the next intake of breath doesn't happen. And then you realize that last exhale was it. So in between that first inhale and that last exhale, we do a lot of breathing. And with each breath, this magical process happens. And we all know about it. The air enters our lungs where the oxygen is taken out and then sent through our blood to the rest of our body. And at the same time, the blood comes up that has the waste materials, and the lungs do this thing, and all the waste materials go out, and that's your out breath. And it all happens in this magical way that we don't ever have to think about. It's this perfect fueling and waste management system happening with every single breath we take. Cue the police. Every breath you take. Of course, this system is not unique to humans. Everything breathes. The surface layer of the ocean is teeming with photosynthetic plankton. And though they're invisible to the naked eye, they produce more oxygen than the largest redwoods. Scientists estimate that roughly half of the oxygen production on Earth comes from the ocean. So in addition to the magic happening in our very own bodies with each breath, there is also an intricate, collaborative system happening between species throughout the Earth all the time. And just like With the rising of the sun, it comes without us asking. It shines unconditionally on all of us, whether we deserve it or not. This happens. The oxygen is created for all of us. One system, one breath, one breathing. Now, I can get kind of overwhelmed with the delicate perfection of how this all works when I think about it. I mean, it all has to work just right for us to be here alive, breathing, right now. Now, here's another fact that amazes me, that you and I are here. In order for us to be here now in 2023, think of all the people through history who had to meet each other and make babies. A lot of people. In just the last 1,000 years or so, we each, every one of us in this room, has 1 trillion ancestors. And humans have been on the planet a lot longer than 1,000 years. So we have trillions of ancestors. Also, of the 200 million or so sperm deposited near the cervix, only about 100,000 of them make it into the womb. So getting just the right sperm to just the right ovum at just the right time is amazing. And anyone in the room who has experienced some infertility, put myself in that category, you know how miraculous it feels when it all works out. Okay. So this has all been a rather long introduction to the idea of embodiment. You are sitting here today because all of these processes, from the Earth's balanced atmosphere to the effective motility of 1 trillion men's sperms to your own respiratory and circulatory systems, had to work just right for you to be here. The chances that you would not be here, that none of us would be here, are incredibly high. And yet here we are. Yay you! Yay universe! Yay science! Even if you don't believe in God or souls or a higher purpose, just take a moment to acknowledge the amazing circumstances that have brought you, with your unique DNA and personality and gifts and flaws, right here, right now. And this being the case, what are you going to do, as Mary Oliver asked, with your one wild and precious life? Breathe. In Rilke's poem today, we heard today in German and English, God speak. Go to the limits of your longing. Embody me. Flare up like flames and make big shadows in which I can move. Let everything happen to you, beauty and terror. Just keep going. No feeling is final. Don't let yourself lose me. Embody me, God says. Just keep going. What if the whole point of this life, the whole point of evolution bringing us to this moment, this body, this next breath, is simply to bring God into being? What if the creative force behind and within all of this longs to be incarnated, infleshed, embodied, to move from the abstract to the particular? Flare up like flame and make big shadows I can move in. It's like God is just crying for us to give space for this divine energy to show up. We are all so damn hard on ourselves, right? We're so aware of our failings, so frustrated that we haven't done more, been more, loved better, been kinder. We wake in the night with a litany of our blunders. What if all of it, the beauty and the terror, the ecstasy of the mundane, is simply what it means to embody the divine? Each breath a sacrament. Each day, a holy day. Everything we sense, see, hear, smell, taste, God sensing through us. If this were the whole meaning, how would it change how you move through the world? I wonder if each of us fell more deeply in love with these bodies we're in, more ecstatically aware that breathing is a miracle, more open to the joy and the sorrow of every moment, how might we approach the other miraculous bodies we meet? Would we care more deeply about each life's possibilities? Or feel less need to police each other's behaviors? Yesterday was the 33rd anniversary of my ordination. On July 15th, 1990, after 3 years of graduate study and 2 years of full-time ministry internships and 4 years of being under the watchful eye of an ordination committee assigned just to me, and days of written ordination exams followed by the oral ordination exams, I was declared fit for ministry. It was a long and arduous process. You really had to be committed to the outcome. I see a Presbyterian minister's wife over here nodding. She knows. And I was, but I was also conflicted because I began to experience the call to a preaching ministry when I was sitting in the silence of a Quaker meeting. Quakers who don't ordain anybody. Now, 33 years later, I still stand and speak and hope that something I say might touch somebody. But truthfully, I'm confessing to you all now, I sort of wish that we'd all become Quakers or Buddhists who sit in silence, learning to listen for the voice of God in the midst of all the noise of the world. Who know that God is not more embodied in one somebody than in another somebody. Who understand that the light within is the light of the world. We are the embodiment of stardust from the beginning of time. And that's not just poetic, that's actually scientific fact. We are the embodiment of stardust from the beginning of time. And we are the embodiment of the breath that blew into that stardust to bring existence here to us. That's what we are. And the spiritual journey, whether we're in the path of delight like we are right now, or the path of letting go as we will be soon, is a path of remembering who and what we are. Remembering. Because sometimes the world dismembers us from our true identity, and we need to be remembered, put back together. Then God said, let us make humans in our image, according to our likeness. And God created humans in their image. In the image of God, they created them. Look around this room, full of goofballs and screw-ups. Probably at least one person here today that you don't really like all that much. I'm just being honest. We're human. We have our little ups and downs with each other. But every one of us, the light of God. Every one of us, the embodiment of divine creativity. Every one of us, holy breath encased in this mud body. Every one of us, sacred, holy, beautiful, loved. Breathe.